Again, my name is Emma. I wanted to start off with a story that really means a lot to me. I was in the thick of grad school, more than a decade ago, and I decided to rescue. I had no idea what I was doing, where I would go, and of course I visited all of the rescues around town. I actually ended up finding the perfect fit for me in kind of some random spot. It was actually at Saving Grace Pit Bull Rescue. There was a puppy mill that was busted from Mentone, Texas, and they had a whole bunch of tiny dogs in addition to the other large dogs that they had. And it was called Pit Bull Rescue, but I just went and I saw a bunch of little dogs that were so, energetic and happy and just so happy to be rescued. And one of them was Sadie, and Sadie was a Jack Russell Whippet mix, and she was the only dog that didn't come up and say hi to me. She just kind of stood in the corner, kind of eyeing everything. She would be very friendly to all the other dogs, but she was just scared to death of humans. And so I ended up picking her. I don't know why, maybe because I wanted to save her, typical, just I want to help. And so the one that needed the most help I chose, and it was the absolute best thing I've ever done in my life. Now, I will say that there's a lot of other things that go along with it. She was terrified of me, and I tried to overly, treat her the absolute best. I catered to everything that she could ever want, but she did not trust me. And she didn't eat for the first probably month and a half. She would hide underneath my bed. Oh my goodness. And her cute little nub tail was always down. And I tried everything that I could think of. And I looked at so many different resources, and I found that the one thing that helped even us inch forward, okay, we inched forward, we never took a big step, but I sat with her while she ate, and I gave her whatever she wanted to eat. At first. And yes, it was not nutritious what I was putting in her bowl, but I just wanted her to eat anything.
Anything would be good, yeah.
Anything. And so I sat Indian style behind her. She would even kind of sit in my lap and then take a little bite and then come back to me. And then we got to where we were doing that every meal, and then she would take part of her meal, she would eat it by herself with me close by, and then she would take it and go hide it somewhere or just put it somewhere. Which I looked up and is typical of dogs that have to take their food with them elsewhere, hide it, because other dogs are fighting over that same food. Yeah. And I never knew what her job or what she did in the puppy mill. She wasn't one of the breeder bitches, her breeder dogs. She wasn't. And you could tell with her body that she was fine. So I just didn't know where she came from, what her experiences were. But she was just very neurotic. And so then so that was the next step. And then all of a sudden there was this click. And it was one day where I came home, and I kenneled her, and I tried to make it to where she loved it. She never really loved the kennel. But there was one day where I came home and I heard her kind of touch her paws against the cage, and I walked over and she was so excited to see me. I have no idea what I did. I'm sure I didn't even do anything, but it was just one day where she woke up maybe from her nap in the crate while I was gone, and she woke up and she realized that I was home and she was happy. I don't know. And so that was the first time I saw a little bit of a tail wag. Her nub finally came up a little bit. It didn't come up all the way. That wasn't until her first walk with another dog. We went on walks all the time, but we went on a walk with my friend Megan's dog, who was a little bit bigger, a medium-sized dog, but she loved her. And we walked a couple of times. And if I put them kind of right next to each other, walking, and I kept talking to her, saying good things, after a while, she loved it. She loved walks. And so that was when her tail went up, like erect, all the way up for the first time, wagging all over the place. And she would even kind of stop after a while and kind of do that thing where dogs like go forward like that, you know, kind of prance forward. They're so excited. So that, but all of that from the beginning to then took more than a year. And I just had to be very patient and understanding. And I looked up all sorts of resources for dogs like that.
And empathetic and very empathetic.
Empathetic, yes. Understanding of anything. I mean, and she even until she died 2 years ago, she had certain issues with marking. It wasn't like she would hike her leg and mark places. Anytime we went somewhere new, she had to find a spot, and she would mark. And I tried so hard to get her to stop, but she never did. So that was something that I had to deal with myself. I mean, there's pros and cons, and that was just a con that I didn't, and maybe it was because I adopted her when she was 4, which they did aging with the teeth. I didn't care though. I mean, she was a puppy in my mind, but, so that was one of the things that I decided that it was fine. I would deal with that. And so, yeah, it was the best thing I've ever done, ever. And I've got millions of stories, but that was kind of the gist of how hard it was at first, and how I loved her from the minute I met her, and you have to do your part. You have to, like, if they're a part of your family and you love them, you have to do what you need to do to help them. And so that's what I tried to do. So rest in peace, Sadie, I love you. Okay. Anything else?